Welcome to Juliana's Kitchen. The 12 Days of Christmas adventures continue. And you know, every once in a while a recipe comes along that raises the bar for all the others. This butter pecan fudge is one of those recipes. This recipe has been in my family since I was a wee little girl, and I grew up not even liking fudge because this was the bar I held every other fudge to. It is awesome. It kind of leans into almost caramel zone, but still soft and fudgy. So if you like the sounds of this and you'd like to learn how to make this yummy fudge, please hit that like button, subscribe, come along with me, and I will show you how. Let's get cooking. This recipe only calls for 6 ingredients, and a couple of things that you're going to need to have success making this yummy fudge is a nice heavy bottomed pot. You'll need a 10 by 10 pan to put it in, and it really helps to have a decent candy thermometer. And speaking of good thermometers, I'm just going to give you a little advice that'll save you ruining a batch of fudge, hopefully. This kind of thermometer where they have the metal bracket like this, I don't recommend them. Look and see why. Watch my finger. Notice how this moves? I ruined a batch of fudge. That's how I figured it out. So if you happen to have one of these, you might need to do a temperature check. Boil some water. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level, and for each 1,000 degrees higher than sea level you live, deduct 2 degrees Fahrenheit, or just Google how to figure that out, and then you'll get it so that your red line lines up with the proper temperature, and then don't move it. Or you could just go old school and get one of these old style ones. They still clip on the pot, but the idea you want is that the whole thermometer part is encased in glass, so there is a scale in there and the little bead and thermometers there so that it can't move. Anyway, let's get making the fudge. You need one other tool in the kitchen, and that would be some kind of a handheld mixer. So let's head to the stove and start making fudge. Okay, so into our big pot on the stove, we want to have a half a cup of butter, 2 cups of brown sugar. You can use brown sugar or demerara. In my world, they're all brown sugar, whatever you've got. And then we want to use a 300 ml can, I think that's 10 ounces, of sweetened condensed milk. And 3/4 a cup of golden corn syrup. Some treats are worth a little extra effort. And once you try this, you'll be like me. I'm salivating, waiting for this to come together. So we're just going to keep stirring it until everything's melted, and we want it to start to bubble and boil, and we're on a medium heat right now. So you can see it's starting to get little bubbles. It's going to boil a whole lot, bubble a whole lot more. But you want to stir it constantly. Just keep making sure your spoon goes around the entire bottom of the pan so that you don't have any spots that burn. And really, worst case scenario, if something burns a little bit in a spot, you can get that burnt sugar flavor. It's still delicious. It's kind of like no fail awesome. It's nice and bubbly, but we're still not going to put the thermometer in just because it's harder to stir around the thermometer. And I'll show you. When it gets a little more bubbly, then we'll get that thermometer in because we'll be getting close. And we want to keep an eye on the temperature the closer we get to the top. So I've been stirring for 6 minutes now. Feels like it's probably a good time to get the thermometer on the edge of the pot. And you want to make it so that the bulb of the candy thermometer is not touching the bottom of the pot. You want it just kind of hovering just above. And this fudge is actually cooked to a little higher temperature than most fudges. We're going to take it to 245 degrees. We're getting super close. And I've been stirring for 14-15 minutes. And ladies and gentlemen, we are there. We're at the top temperature. So let's turn off the heat. Let's get this thermometer out of the way because it's easier to stir. And let's add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that in. And now we're going to remove it from the heat, put it on a hot plate, and use our hand mixer. Okay guys, we're almost at the finish line. So you want a hot plate, put your hot pot of fudge on there, and we're not going to mix these in. I'm going to have them at the ready. You want your chopped nuts at the ready, or if you want whole pecans, I'm going to show you how to do that as well and have those at the ready. And of course, you need your pan, your parchment paper lined pan, ready to go. Keep your speed on your mixer at a low to medium speed. And we are going to beat it for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. If you live in a cooler place, it'll be a shorter period of time. And if you're in a really hot place, you'll be doing this for a bit longer. I tried setting it in a bowl of ice water once, but I don't recommend that sheet because then it kind of hardens right close to the edge of the pot and you lose some fudge, and we don't want to lose any fudge. It will lose some of its gloss and look more fudgy, and I'll show you when we reach the right consistency what it's supposed to look like. You may not be able to tell from looking at it, but you can tell by the feel. It'll be harder to pull the mixer through it. This is about the 5-minute mark, but it is getting thicker, and you can kind of see it's starting to get a little duller. Few more minutes. So as it gets closer to ready, you can see here kind of how it's pulling away from the edges of the pot. That's a good sign. We don't want to take any shortcuts here. If you crank your mixer up too high, you might blow the motor. But can you see how as I move the beater, it's starting to ball up almost on the blades or the beaters? That's a clue that we are so close. So you can kind of see that it's doing that. It's like starting to ball up around the beaters. Which means it's time for the pan. And a spatula won't cut it for scraping this out of the pot to get it in the pan because it's a heavy-duty, thick, fudgy, caramely mix. So I recommend using your metal spoon. Once you get your fudge mixture into the pan, just use a spoon with a little bit of butter on the back of it to spread it around. So if you want to do the nut-free version, you're in the home stretch. This is the last step for you. But if we want to pecanize this butter fudge or butter pecan fudge, then hang tight. I want to get this smooth nicely, and then I'll show you how to add the nuts. All right. This is how my mama did it. She literally put them 10 by 10 in the pan and then cut it into little squares so that each one had a pecan on top. But I'm not going to do that. I prefer just sprinkle your pecans on like that, and then use your spoon again and press them, spread them around and kind of pat them in like that. And then we're going to let this cool. If you could come through the screen and smell this right now, you would know it's Christmas. Let me show you how to cut them. So it's pretty straightforward how to cut the squares. The only quick tip I want to give you is parchment is our friend because it makes it easier to get them out of the pan. And what I really want to say is when you cut squares, it works best when you use a big knife and you just press straight down. And then if your knife gets all gummy up with something, it's a good idea to have a damp, clean dishcloth nearby to wipe it. And because we're working with fudge, I don't even want this wetness to touch the fudge. So I have a paper towel here to just re-dry the knife so that you always have a clean knife for every cut. That will ensure you have nice clean edges on your squares. So there we have it, butter pecan fudge, my favorite fudge recipe. I hope you like it too. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for stopping at Julianne's Kitchen. Have an awesome day.